Hey, what's going on, MMA fans? It's L Train here again. Um, it's the day after the Super Bowl. Um, 2 days since the UFC 126 card. I want to congratulate the Green Bay Packers and all their fans for bringing the title back to Title Town. My Seahawks been out for a little while now. It was actually a pretty good end to a disappointing season. Um, I'm kind of disappointed that the NFL's over with, but I'm kind of looking forward to the draft. Hopefully the Seahawks can get a couple young studs in there, maybe help us out, so the next time we're in the playoffs, we actually have a winning record. But enough about football. I want to get to MMA and continue my 7-part series on the title hunt and the UFC. Today we're going to be talking about the UFC Bantamweight division. The champion right now is Dominic Cruz, and the people that I see maybe challenging for that title and possibly challenging for that title in 2011 calendar year are these guys: Uriah Faber, Eddie Wineland, Brian Bowles, Miguel Torres, and Demetrius Johnson. Okay, let's start out with the champ, Dominic Cruz. He's 7-1 in the WC, 17-1 overall. He's the winner of 7 straight fights. He's defended his title twice against Scott Jorgensen and Joseph Benavidez since winning it against Brian Bowles at WEC 47. Right now, Cruz has been out. He had surgery on his hand a while back, and he's kind of recouping from that. I imagine that he'll be back in the cage sooner rather than later. I would look for maybe a fight announcement within the next month or so. Okay, right now, the guy that I think is probably the number one contender is Uriah Faber. He's 9-3 in the WEC, 24-4 overall. He's 1-0 since moving down to bantamweight. That win coming against Mizugaki at WEC 52, which I believe is their last event. The reason I say that Cruz is the number one contender because Cruz is the the reason I say that Faber is the number one contender is because Faber is the only person to beat Cruz. This fight, of course, happened at featherweight back in 2007 at WEC 26. This fight was Cruz's first fight in the WEC, and it was before he found his home in the bantamweight division. The next person I want to discuss is Eddie Wineland. He's 5-2 in the WEC. 18-6-1 overall. He became the first WC Bantamweight champion back at WC 20 by beating Antonio Banuelos. Recently, he's won 4 straight. He holds wins over Manny Tapia and George Roop. Until Cruz recoups, they're going to put on a fight between Uriah Faber and Eddie Wineland. This is going to happen at UFC 128. I definitely think this is one of the fights that's scheduled that's going to shape this division this year. Let's move on. Let's look at Brian Bowles is the next one I want to look at. He's 5-1 the WEC, 8-1 overall. And Bowles, he hasn't fought nearly a year since his loss to Cruz at WEC 47. This loss against Cruz was his only loss, and it actually happened by doctor stoppage because of a broken hand. So I imagine that with another big win that he can get back in there and fight Cruz again for the title, because that did happen by doctor stoppage. He has another fight, big fight for the division. He's fighting Demetrius Page at UFC 1 versus 3. Okay, the next person is Miguel Torres. Miguel Torres is 7-2 in the Zuffa, under the Zuffa label, 38-3 overall. He's won his last 2 against Antonio Banuelos and Charlie Valencia. The Banuelos fight just happened at UFC 26. It kind of looked like Torres' boxing was way more dominant. Banuelos couldn't really get inside on him, and Torres just kind of sat on the outside and picked them apart. Of course, Torres was a long-time bantamweight champion, and I think with those 2 wins after losing 2 straight, he lost his belt to Bowles, and then he turned around and lost to Benavidez, but he's came back and won 2 straight, as I said, against Banuelos and Valencia. I think those 2 wins have kind of got him back in the discussion a little bit. The last person I have is Demetrius Johnson. He's 3-1 with Zuffa, 13-1 overall. It might be a little early to talk about this guy in the bantamweight title picture, but I don't know if you're an MMA fan how you can't be impressed with his last 2 victories. He kind of came out of nowhere, and he's won his last 2 against Japanese star Kid Yamamoto, who had a bunch of publicity coming over here and fighting in the UFC. Johnson was just he was too quick, too good at wrestling, took him down, controlled him, and escaped with the victory. So it kind of takes some of that publicity away from Kid Yamamoto. Right before that fight, he fought a former top-ranked contender in Demikio Page and beat him. Before that, Page was kind of going up the ladder a little bit, and he kind of took his his steam, kind of cooled him off a little bit, and kind of took some of the people that were looking at him we're looking at Johnson now. I still think it's a little early to talk about him, but I just want to put him in there because I've been impressed. I think he's kind of moving up the ranks a lot like Scott Jorgensen. Jorgensen lost his first fight in the WC, and he rattled a bunch off straight, and that kind of seems like the way that Johnson's going. He lost his first fight. He's had 2 impressive wins. From looking at it, I believe he's going to continue winning. Okay, this is the kind of the way I see the division shaking out. You got Cruz as the champion. He's waiting for a little bit to recoup. Then you have Uriah Faber, Eddie Wineland fight's going to happen at UFC 128. I think the winner of that fight is going to get the title shot. I'm 100% sure that if Faber wins, he's going to get the title shot. I mean, like I said, he's the only person to beat Cruz. From a business standpoint, the UFC can hype that fight up quite a bit. That knowing that Faber holds the only victory over Cruz. Wineland, I think if he beats Faber, that'd be 5 straight. He'd have wins over Faber, Tapia, and Roop. I think that's enough right now to get the title shot. People be buzzing about his victory over Faber, and then that'd be the perfect time to toss him right in there against Cruz and see how he does. It's kind of a toss-up though. If he wins, it's kind of a toss-up between him and Bowles. I kind of like Bowles in this spot because it's kind of a hard way to lose. Like his only loss was by doctor stoppage, a broken hand. But I was actually at that fight in Columbus, and I had Cruz winning both of the first 2 rounds before the stoppage. So I don't know. If he beats Demikio Page at WC on versus 3 and he does it in impressive fashion, I wouldn't be surprised if they give him a title shot. Torres, I think Torres is kind of on the outs right now, on the outskirts of a title shot. I think he still needs another big victory. It wasn't too long ago since he lost 2 straight. Everybody was doubting him. He's won 2 against 2 pretty decent guys, but I think he needs a top tier win against somebody really good to get that fight. Johnson, as I said, I think he's kind of off in the distance. I think if he can put together a couple more quality wins, I could definitely see him getting a title shot. But I think it's more next year that he'll be discussed in the title picture. I would love to see a fight between Demetrius Johnson and Scott Jorgensen. I think that would be a great fight. If you haven't watched too much of the bantamweight, they're really quick, and these 2 are probably the 2 of the quickest in the division. That would be an absolute great fight. So that's kind of where I see it breaking down. I imagine the winner of the Wineland versus Faber fight's going to get the next shot, and I think Bowles is kind of the next guy in line after that. So if you like this video, tune in. I got another 5 videos coming out shortly. Until next time, this is L Train. Talk to you later.